everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Miri and today I'm super excited to be analyzing the new Skull Panda series from Popmart. The series is called Images of Reality and I could not give enough compliments to how absolutely gorgeous and creative this series is. I'm also going to be including a link to the Popmart page so you can actually go and take a look for yourselves, maybe purchase some, see how it goes, as well as watch their promo video. They made an absolutely gorgeous video advertising these figures and they have them in actual animation, so I definitely recommend you check them out. This series is just a gorgeous combination of circus aesthetic almost, and the figures really make you think about what their names mean. Skull Panda is constantly making series that express some kind of emotion or idea. For example, they did the Warmth series, and those figures all represented a certain kind of feeling that I think this series also really follows, just more in a kind of creepy, disturbing, nightmarish sort of way. That being said, these figures are all so beautiful. And I think that Skull Panda always dives really deep into some kind of unsettling feeling with their figures, and I think that in itself is really beautiful. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. This first figure is called the Disguise. Something that I really like about this series is that they're giving each figurine different poses. Originally, the Skull Panda figurines all kind of had the same pose, but in this series, I like that they're all completely different. The most exciting part about this figure is the mask that it comes with. It actually attaches with magnets, and this lamb mask is really what makes this represent disguise. I think that any character that comes with some sort of extra feature that takes it a step further is so interesting, and I really love Popmart for doing these in a ton of different series. The second figurine of this series is called the Anti-Gravity, and I could look at this figure forever. The way that its clothing kind of goes up and down, it's got a balloon for a head, but then the little baubles at the sides of the mask go up and down, which I think is a really interesting feature, especially when the baubles themselves are clear and then they have something in them. Something else that I think is really beautiful is the eyes and how each expression is different. I feel like a lot of thought went into that. The Anti-Gravity was also one of the figures that were featured in the promo video, and it was super interesting to see how he moves and floats around and interacts with these other balloons around him. The next character is called the Duality, and this is the white version. There's also a black version, that's her sister, that goes along with this, but unfortunately they don't come together. So you'll have to make sure that you get more than one to try to get both of them in the set. I love how beautiful this figure is with the swan as the helmet. And if you look closely, you can also see how half of the bauble on the side of her head is cut off, and it kind of represents a telephone, and her sister has the exact mirrored version of that. This is the Duality in black, and again, I just have to reiterate how gorgeous these two figures are. I love the eye makeup, I love how much shading went into their knees and their swan helmet. And I think it's also really beautiful that they have these jester-like outfits and they kind of mirror each other. The attention to detail on these is just so beautiful too, like the bench that they're sitting on and the way that they're holding the telephone wire. I think that's so pretty. The next figure is called the Philosophy, which I think is really representative by the owl design, the eyes on the sides of her head, the way she's holding a book. I mean, this could not represent philosophy more. And this is one of those characters that also comes with a mask that goes over her face, which does complete the owl look. And the only other sneak peek we got to this mask was in the promotional video where she's hanging upside down and the mask kind of comes off her face to show her eyes. Our next figurine is called the Imagination, and again, I cannot give enough compliments to Skull Panda for the way that they made these figures look. I think that the water especially is something that's so interesting. The way it looks like actually flowing water out of her helmet is absolutely stunning. Another really good detail about this is the eyeballs that are floating around in the water. Because of how well it ties it to the whole series, I think that's something that's really important about these series is that they look good all together, not just as individuals. And I think that that really ties in how well these are done. The constraint is the next figure in this series, and I think that this is going to be one of my favorite figures just because of how iridescent this one is. The way that her eyeshadow shines, the way that she's got shine all over her body, I think that's just so beautiful. And I think that the way she's designed to be completely wrapped up, almost like a mermaid, is so intriguing. This one is definitely going to be one of my favorites just because of how interesting it is. Next up is the Merchant, and honestly I get the vibes of one of those spinning discs that has mirrors in it and it kind of makes the objects inside look like they're moving. That's what this really gives off to me, or maybe the way that they're moons makes it kind of like he's a merchant of the moon. I'm not really sure, but I think that the celestial design is super cool. Something else I really like is that it goes all the way around, so you get detail all the way around the entire figure. The next figurine is called the Soar, and this is definitely going to be one of my favorites as well. I think this is really going to be one of the crowd favorites too. Skull Panda really went in deep when they marketed this one. It's basically the face of the entire series. And what really makes this gorgeous is that it looks like it's in motion. She looks like she's flying up. And something that isn't able to be seen in the figures, but you're actually able to see it in the promotional video, is that the back of her head is all birds in a cage. And that kind of represents her being able to fly, which is so beautiful. And I think that's an amazing surprise that probably a lot of people aren't going to know going into this series, but if they get that, that's going to be such a beautiful surprise. The next figure is called the Paradox, and I'm not going to lie, this one is a little bit on the creepier side, but I think that's what this series is going for, so I can't even fault it. It still looks really cool. It looks exactly like one of those Jack-in-the-Boxes that you would wind up and then it would pop up and surprise you. And the way they kind of featured this figure was with all of these different hands that are pointing in different directions, which makes sense for a paradox and it's saying this way, but you don't know which way. But also, all the needles in the hands kind of make me think of a voodoo doll. This next figure is called the Pivot, and I think that the craftsmanship on this is absolutely gorgeous. The way it looks like it's glass, especially where the feet are clear and the base is clear, and the way that the hair is so shiny, that was such a cool detail. This figure, I think, is supposed to represent a trapeze artist, which makes sense because her name is the Pivot. And I think it would have been super cool to see her in motion with the video, but still, even just this placement in the picture is really nice. The next figure is the Time Lapse, and this one has such incredible detail. If you look really closely, the clock itself looks like wood. This is absolutely one of the most gorgeous figures in this series. I cannot stress enough how beautiful this is. This is also probably going to be a fan favorite just because of how nicely done these details are with the gold on the top, the clear baubles on the side, and also a cool surprise with her face. I'm not sure how they have managed this, but in the video there was a very short moment, like a sneak peek, of what this figure actually can do. It has different faces that it can switch to. I have no idea how it's actually going to be able to do that, but the inside face can tilt to give it a different expression. And last but not least, this is the secret figure called the Onlooker. As usual, it has a 1 in 144 chance of getting it, and you aren't guaranteed to get this one. But definitely people are going to be trying because this figure is so detailed, especially with the background of the moon in kind of a glass texture, as well as the crows, the wood, the stars. This figure is crazy. We also got a really cool moment in the video of a close-up of this character, which usually we don't get to see this much detail in a secret. I think that's a really nice touch. Something else we got from the video was the scene of her opening her eyes and kind of moving a little bit. I love that they're doing that with their videos. It makes them seem so much more lifelike. And those are all of the figures of the series Image of Reality by Skull Panda. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know which one is your favorite, which one you're most looking forward to getting. If you'd like to see me open any of these, I would love to get my hands on a couple of these figures, or the whole set if I'm lucky. Please also let me know if there are any other figures you would like to see me open. I'm always taking a look at my comments. And thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this and you want to see me do more content. Thank you!